Yeah,
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Today, my team and I are going to present our project of sociology. The team is confirmed by Sebastián Clemens, Moises González, and I, Pablo Mias.
structural function approach, local news, religion in the Mexican society. In the recent years, religion has been attracted by Mexican society, especially by social movements like feminism. It's been defined like an opinion to the masses. But what religion does give its participants a sense of community, unflying them. Religion gives people sense of community in society. This happens because of the mutual religion experiences that average worshipper shares with its fellow passioner, says L. Roland Hubbard, American sociologist.
A structural functional approach, international news 1. Practically all the news that the media transmits to us from the Middle East makes reference in some way. It is obvious that the most visible division between Saudi Arabia and Iran is a religious one, an age-old rift between two opposing Islamic creeds, the Sunni and the Shiite, rooted in an irresolvable dispute over who was Muhammad's legitimate heir. Today, the two branches of Islam have a rivalry. This has sparked violence in the region, causing terrorist acts in both countries. This shows the influence religion has in the Middle East societies. Islamism is so important to the inhabitants of those regions that they are willing to kill or die for Allah. This shows that the Arabic societies are built around Islamism. In conclusion, religion is the center of these societies.
A structural functional approach, international news too. Believe or not, COVID-19 has united society more. This pandemic has impulsed the American society to unify and fight against the virus with the Use a Mask campaign. The American people have become unified because of one goal, stopping the coronavirus. Each sector of society has done its part in stopping the disease, from wearing a mask to helping ill people and creating the vaccine that hopefully will end the pandemic.
Social conflict approach, local news 1, feminist movement in Mexico. The feminist movement has a strong influence in the Mexican society. Its aim is to stop gender inequality in this country, along with feminicides that occur here approximately 7 a day. Although the previously mentioned causes are the aim of feminist movement in Mexico, recently feminists have become quite violent, vandalizing public property during protests or hurting people during manifestations. This cannot be allowed.
Social conflict approach, local news 2, ethnic inequality in Mexico. In the Mexican society, ethnic people, Purépechas, Nahuas, etc., suffer from a huge gap of opportunities. It is common to see ethnic people, especially from the southeast region of Mexico, asking for money in the streets. Kids that come from ethnic descendants have a poor education and less opportunities in life just because they come from an ethnicity. This shows the racial conflict theory in sociology is true. Everyone should receive the same opportunities, even if we have different origins. That shouldn't matter, but unfortunately, in the modern society, it does.
Social conflict theory, international news one, the death of George Floyd. On May 2025, a police officer in Minneapolis brutally killed George Floyd, an African American citizen, by kneeling on his neck for 5 minutes. America has had a long of history involving police brutality, especially on Black people. This has been going on since these days of the racial segregation to nowadays. The death of George involves the racial conflict theory, and it caused long-time tensions between the police and society to explode. After the death of Floyd, riots began all throughout the country, affecting thousands of people. Finally, all this violence turned into a social movement in the United States, which is our next international news.
Social conflict theory, international news 2, Black Lives Matter movement. Continuing with the racial conflict theory, as mentioned before, the death of Floyd had a great effect on the American society, even creating a social movement, Black Lives Matter. This movement talks about stopping the systematic racism that affected Black people along with police brutality. The movement used people like George and Breonna Taylor, another victim from police brutality, as their icons, and gained a lot of support from throughout the world. Even major sports leagues like NFL, NBA, MLS openly supported the movement. Even though it received a lot of support, it also highly controversial movement because the riots it generated.
Symbolic interaction approach, local news one, food in Mexican society. The average Mexican gives a certain symbolic value to food. Think about it for a moment. For example, pan de muerto is a pastry that symbolizes the union between the alive and the dead, or punch, which symbolizes Christmas time.
Symbolic interaction approach local news too, tradition and holidays in Mexico. The Mexican societies have a lot of traditions and holidays, which the majority of them occur on a design day. This relates to the symbolic interaction approach because the designated days are given a symbolic value, which shapes the Mexican society.
Symbolic interaction approach international news. One, American flag. The American society, in the American society, the flag is given a very important meaning. There are 13 stripes that represent 13 original colonies with 50 stars that represent 50 states. Red means valor, white purity, and blue freedom. This shows again how gives value to certain objects important in their history.
Symbolic interaction approach, international news two, Canadian flag. In this case, apart from the colors and their designated meanings, they also use something that represents the country, which in this case is the maple leaf. This can be observed in many flags, but we chose this one because it was the clearest example. It shows how people from a certain country can choose a typical object and again give it a symbolic value as a society to represent them. Well, that was our project. Thank you for your attention.